Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. You may have noticed that I did not do a recipe video last week. I filmed it, but, well, let me back up a little bit further. So, one of the things that I want to start doing more of on this channel, given the price of meat, and the fact that I'm really sort of starting to get priced out of certain cuts of meat. I can't afford to be eating tenderloin or ribeyes or things like that anymore. So I'm starting to look at cheaper cuts of meat, and whatever is on sale is what I buy. And I want to start doing more videos like that where I take a inexpensive cut of meat and show a way to prepare it in such a way that it's awesome. And what was on sale a week ago at my grocery store was beef arm shoulder roast. Now this is very similar to a chuck roast. It's from the similar part of the body, I guess you would say. Both come from the shoulder. The beef arm shoulder roast is a little bit further down. It's a little bit of a leaner cut. The chuck is closer to the neck. Anyhow, so they're not the same. They are different cuts of meat. And the shoulder roast was, I think, about $5.50 a pound is all. So about $2 less than a chuck roast. Anyhow, I started trying to figure out what way should I prepare this. And the way that I really wanted to prepare it was to braise it in sort of maybe a mushroom and red wine sauce. The issue is, I know a number of you live in places where it is just way too hot right now to be running your stove for 3 hours, or oven. Stove is the top part, oven the inside. So you'd be braising on the inside of your oven, running the 350 degrees probably for 3 hours. I don't think a lot of you want that right now during this hot summer. So instead, I was thinking, well, should I do Instant Pot? Well, I've done some Instant Pot recipes before. Should I do it in a slow cooker? I've already done chuck roast in a slow cooker. I'll link to that up here and maybe even put it in the end card. So instead, I decided that I would smoke it. And it turned out great. It was really, really good. But as I went through the process and started thinking it over, I thought, you know what, I can do this better, I think. So I'm going to refilm portions of the video. There are some that are fine, sort of the prep and stuff like that. But there are portions that I do want to refilm so that I can release that this week. So that is why we didn't have a video last week. And also, another reason we didn't have a video last week is a lot of my time was consumed by creating a recipe playlist. So I've got sort of sub-playlists, like categories like Thanksgiving or condiments or barbecue and cookouts and grillouts or something like that. But I didn't have one single playlist for all of my recipes. And I thought if I went back through all of my recipe videos and added them all to a single playlist, that would make it easier to search, I think, to find some of my recipes because I've got 900 plus videos. I also went through and made sure that in addition to the main recipe video playlist, that also if there were some other sub-playlists that I forgot to tag these as, like condiments or kitchen hacks and techniques or something like that, that I put it in those categories as well. And I made sure that hashtags were pretty much updated. So hopefully it'll make searching for recipes easier. However, that did take about 6 hours of my time last week, which is time that would have been spent either working on recipes or editing videos or things like that. So anyhow, it was a lot of fun, actually. Well, that's not entirely true. It was somewhat fun. I don't have a lot of fun doing administrative tasks like this, but the fun part of it was going back and seeing some of these recipes that I'd kind of forgotten about. And there's a lot I want to make again. There's some I may actually film again, kind of, have I learned more since I released this video? Can I do an updated version, maybe better editing or something? I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. 220 recipe videos I've released. So whenever you're thinking, gee, Steve, why don't you release some more recipe videos? I tell you what, go binge on all 220 of my previous recipe videos, then come back and tell me that you want more recipe videos. I'll still try and keep, for the most part, on a 1 per week cadence, or maybe it's 3 per month, depending on how busy I am. I'll keep those recipes coming. So I would encourage you to check out that playlist. Feel free to binge watch, because July and August are kind of bad months for Serious Keto in terms of viewership. This would be a good way to help out my metrics. Go watch some of those old recipe videos. And if you come up with any ideas for other subcategories, like I said, I got a number of them already, but if, say, you wanted something like 3 ingredients or less, I don't know that I've got a lot of recipes that are like that, or like super easy or super quick versus more gourmet. I'm just, I'm spitballing here. But if you have any ideas or suggestions for other sub-recipe playlists, let me know down in the comments below. I can't promise that I will use everybody's idea, but if there's one or two out there that seem like they would be a good fit, I'll definitely make those playlists. Also, I am in the process of shooting a handful of different review videos. So some of the review videos that you can expect to see over the course of this month are Rise, the mushroom coffee, Shruly, which is a I wouldn't call it an incubator. It's a mushroom grow system. So it allows you to grow gourmet mushrooms at home, mushrooms that you can't find in a grocery store. Maybe you can find them in a farmer's market, but I'll talk more about mushrooms in that video and why this device I think is kind of cool. And then finally, probably later on today, if you're watching this on Monday, we're going to have Colton over. We're going to have Colton over a lot, I think, in August. But he and I are going to make the Sonora Bakery churros. So we're going to try out that mix and let you know what we think of those. But there's just a little bit of a sneak peek at what's coming up in terms of videos on this channel. Oh, and while I'm talking about reviews, I'd done a review not that long ago of the UltraHuman Air ring. So this is a fitness tracking ring. I'm just thrilled with it. One of the things, though, that I kind of threw out as a little bit of a caveat on the ring was it ships from India. I'm pretty sure you got to pay for shipping, you got to pay for customs. I don't know if you need to make any sort of a customs declaration. They took care of all of that for me since, I'm an influencer and all that. But it's a different story for the rest of you, or at least it was a different story for the rest of you. They are now available on Amazon. So you can purchase them on Amazon. And on top of that, you can still use my coupon code. There is a specific coupon code for Amazon that gets you 10% off. You use it at checkout. I will include a link down in the description below to the UltraHuman Air ring on Amazon along with the coupon code. So I'm just throwing that out there for anybody who was kind of interested in the ring, but the whole shipping thing and customs was a bit of a sticking point for you. Well, now that's taken care of. One of the things that's been going on in the video comments over the last couple of weeks has been a pretty big spike in the number of ingredient police. And I think most of you know by now how I feel about ingredient police, but I want to clarify, again, just for anybody that might be nervous about me thinking you're being the ingredient police when you're not being the ingredient police, let me tell you the difference, in my opinion. The ingredient police are generally some self-righteous people that like telling other people what they should or shouldn't eat. That this food is bad, this food is poison, this food isn't keto, no one should eat this. Versus someone that says, I choose not to eat that because of this reason. Or I find that this affects me a certain way. Like maybe it's, I can't eat allulose because it upsets my stomach. That's not being the ingredient police. That's just stating that you have a food sensitivity. That's completely fine. And if there's something that you don't want to eat for whatever reason, you just feel it's bad for you, it causes you inflammation, something like that. Like for me, I try and steer clear of canola oil, soybean oil, but I don't preach that at people. I don't say you can't have it. I mean, I wouldn't, but if you want to, go ahead. It's your life, it's your body. So hopefully that distinction makes sense. There's a difference between saying, it's my choice not to have this for whatever reason, versus saying, that's poison, that's awful, allulose causes diarrhea, something like that. Now on top of that, over the course of the last couple of weeks, and I think this sort of stemmed from the final Chalk Zero video that I did, when you get people that are being the police that also don't understand what they're actually saying, or they're spreading misinformation, that really kind of frustrates me. So the issue with Chalk Zero, it contains, I forget what they call it right now. It's something resistant dextrin. It may be like resistant vegetable dextrin or something like that. I know it's got the word resistant and dextrin. Now dextrin means fiber. It's different from maltodextrin, okay? So once you have malto in front of dextrin, then it's an entirely different creature. And it's one that I think most of us choose to avoid. So I had people saying, dextrin is horrible, it's worse than sugar. Well, no, maltodextrin, not necessarily a good thing. So on top of a few viewers confusing maltodextrin and dextrin, I also had some people claiming that Chalk Zero puts maltodextrin, they specifically said that, not dextrin, puts maltodextrin in their product and lies about it and doesn't tell people that it contains maltodextrin. That is not true. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not true because it would be illegal for them to do that. The FDA requires, if you have any quantity of maltodextrin in a product, it must be listed in the ingredients. To not do so would be a crime. And I don't think that Chalk Zero would do that. But let's go back to maltodextrin for just a moment, because what I find it's most often used for is as a bulking agent. It's something that is added to something else, generally to make it easier to measure. For example, Splenda brand sucralose, those little yellow packets, that's like 98 or 99% maltodextrin and 1% or 2% sucralose. And the reason they do that is so that you've got a packet. Otherwise, you would be measuring it, I don't know, with a jewelry scale and the world's tiniest spoon. And incidentally, if you buy pure sucralose, it comes with the world's smallest spoon. It's I don't know what it is. It's like 1/64th or 1/28th of a teaspoon. It's that small. Sometimes you'll find maltodextrin in spice blends or seasonings or beef bouillon or beef broth powder. So what manufacturers will often do, food manufacturers, is they will include maltodextrin just to make it easier to measure. So you're not trying to measure out 1/16th of a teaspoon of beef bouillon, you're measuring out 1/4 of a teaspoon bulked up with maltodextrin. And for me, I'm not going to get real bent out of shape if there's a gram or two of maltodextrin. To me, that's not going to affect my glucose, it's not going to knock me out of ketosis. If, however, for one of you, it does, if even the smallest amount of maltodextrin causes a glucose spike, then avoid it. And this comes back to something I often say as well, which is each of us needs to own what we put into our bodies. We need to know what affects us and how to read ingredient labels, nutritional information, etc. In fact, I'll link to one of those videos at the end of this video. It'll be in the end card over here someplace. But I want to show you a product. This one, so if you are the ingredient police, your head's gonna explode on this, because I'm not the ingredient police and my head came close to exploding. So I've mentioned in the past, I get out onto Facebook from time to time and I see these recipes in these keto groups, keto for beginners, etc. And one of the things that's been showing up a lot are these people making these cheesecake cups, and they're using the Jello sugar-free cheesecake mix. Now, here's a little tip. Just because something says sugar-free doesn't mean it's keto, and it also doesn't mean it's good for you. All right, I'm gonna pull up the ingredients for you, and I'll scooch over here just a little bit. It's only 6 grams of carbs per serving. For some people, that may be too much, 6 total grams. I don't know. For a dessert, I think that's sort of acceptable. But listen to these ingredients, or read them, or both. Number 1 ingredient, modified cornstarch. Number 2 ingredient, maltodextrin. Then we start getting into some big multi-syllabic words. Tetrasodium pyrophosphate and disodium phosphate. And then we've got 2% or less of natural flavor, salt, calcium sulfate, xanthan gum, mono and diglycerides. Then we get into a couple sweeteners that I also generally avoid. Aspartame and acetylfame potassium. Sometimes you see that just listed as acetylfame K. Tetropotassium pyrophosphate, dipotassium phosphate, yellow 5, yellow 6 artificial color, and BHA. So while I'm not being the ingredient police here, I think it's pretty easy to look at an ingredient list like that and say, nope. It should also be a lesson, hopefully, to all of us. Always read the ingredients. Don't just look at the front of a package and say, oh, it says keto on it. Oh, it says sugar-free. This should be fine. It's not always fine. Now, I'd mentioned in that previous segment about monitoring your blood glucose, and hopefully this month we're going to see the release of 2 over-the-counter continuous glucose monitors, one from Abbott and one from Dex-Com. So let me share a couple of fun facts about these over-the-counter CGMs. So by 2033, the global market for continuous glucose monitors without a prescription is expected to reach $5.1 billion. So Dex-Com and Freestyle could be making some big money, some rather handsome profits off of all of this. I don't know if I'm not giving this necessarily as investment advice, but there's definitely a market out there. In fact, an analytics firm has noted that there are 97.6 million Americans with pre-diabetes. That's a mind-blowing number right there. So Dexcom's product is called the Jello, and that was approved back in March. It's expected to launch later in August. Abbott won the approval of the FDA for their Lingo and Libre Rio products back in June. Both of those are expected to launch before the end of summer. The Lingo is designed for pre-diabetics who want to monitor their glucose levels and create healthier habits, while the Libre Rio is for those with type 2 diabetes who don't need insulin and manage their condition with lifestyle changes. I don't exactly see what distinguishes the two of those from one another. Now, a couple of things that I'm wondering about both of these products is, first off, do they give numeric data? So am I going to get numbers? Am I going to see that, oh, right now my glucose is 90 milligrams per deciliter. Oh, now it's 110. Now it's whatever. Or is it just going to give me, it'll say high or medium or low? I don't know. I also don't know if either of these devices will work with the Levels Health app, which I show very often when I'm doing glucose testing on products. I hope it does work with Levels, and I think Levels would be wise to create an inexpensive, like maybe $1 a month or something like that, subscription service for their analysis software. I think that's a reasonable price, and I think a lot of people would probably subscribe to Levels if that were the case. My other two things that I'll be interested in finding out, and I don't have any information on this yet, are price and how long they last. So generally a continuous glucose monitor is going to last 10 days, 15 days, something like that. I don't know what these over-the-counter ones, how long they're going to last. Again, time will tell, and I will have an update as soon as I know more. One final thing before I end this podcast. I had mentioned at the beginning sort of my plans, some of the videos that are coming up, some of the review videos, cooking videos, etc. August is going to be probably a little bit unpredictable in terms of my video release schedule because grandson number 2 is due, well, imminently, within the next 2 weeks. And I'm sure once he is born, likely Colton will be staying over here a little bit more just to kind of make managing the new baby a little bit easier on Connor and Jaden. So just 2 things I guess you can expect is, one is perhaps a little bit more erratic release schedule, and probably you're going to wind up seeing Colton in a few more videos this month than normal. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend with me. If you want to take a little more time to spend with me, go check out that recipe playlist. Feel free to binge watch. But that's it for this one. As always, thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.